What you doing, buddy? I heard someone took a big spill today.
Oh, Paraspectre, I feel so embarrassed. I was just doing my calisthenic stretches and turned the wrong way on my tarsus.
Well, thank goodness for Life Alert.
Life Alert saves a life from a catastrophe every 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm gonna be okay. This Pokemon Center has the best doctor I could ever ask for.
Did somebody say doctor? Hi, I'm Dr. Matthews. Spike has been a real brave boy.
Nice to meet you, Doctor. Please do take good care of him. He's my best friend in the whole wide world.
Oh, we're taking real good care of him. Real good care.
Okay, great.
Dr. Matthews, got any more of the good stuff? My thorax is sore and my eyes feel like they're starting to glaze over.
Well, your eyes are permanently glazed over since you are a host-parasite pair in which the parasite mushroom has taken over the host bug, refers damp places. But yes, I have your revival herb right here. It's time to take your medicine.
Thanks, Doc. This revival herb always helps to calm my nerves.
I'll be back to check on your condition. Oh yes, soon your eyes will be doing more than just being glazed over. Soon you won't have them at all, for I am the harvester of eyes.
Yeah, I'd love a glass of ice. Well, Spike, now that I know that you're under the best care in the best Pokemon Center this side of Mahogany Town, I feel like I can relax and do another Pokemon challenge for YouTube.
Thank you, Paraspectre. You really are a great friend. Oh no, I think Dr. Matthews left his chart over there.
Oh no, it looks like he did. Let me just run this to... Oh god, oh man. Oh god, oh man. Oh god, oh man. Oh god, oh man. Oh god. Excuse me, where is Dr. Matthews?
He's at lunch right now. If it's an emergency, I can...
Spike! Nurse, get in here quick!
Paraspectre? What happened?
Hey buddy. Turns out Dr. Matthews was poisoning you. It was really Matthew all along. He called himself the Harvester of Eyes. He worked for a secret criminal organization that summons ancient Cantonian burial practices and funerary incantations. He was put on trial for 18 weeks. It got delayed 6 more weeks, and then 10 more weeks after that. But he was found guilty on 37 charges of Pokemon slaughter.
Wow, I can't believe all of this happened while I was out.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. But while you were out cold, I recorded my next Pokemon challenge onto this VHS tape here. Let's have a watch on this official Pokemon Center licensed VCR.
Do we have to?
Oh boy, everybody, it's time to go completely crazy here. You want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts!
It's high time I take a step away from the trading card game. Well, sort of. Picture this, my lovely friends. I will be playing through Pokemon Red using the very first Pokemon TCG deck I ever bought. Allow me to explain. First, a quick backstory that I've most certainly told before in other videos. Back when Pokemon cards were all the rage, and I mean they were all the rage, stores were sold out everywhere, and me, without any cards of my own, continued to call all around town each day waiting to see if any of these stores got some decks or packs in stock. It was not going well, but one day, my dad, who was noticing that I was feeling down that I couldn't find any cards, offered to drive us to a Toys R Us that was about an hour away just so I could get my first deck. And that deck was called Overgrowth, the grass water themed one. So as I sat here thinking of ideas for TCG challenges, I thought, what if I played through Pokemon Red using just the Pokemon from the Overgrowth deck? But that didn't sound like too much of a challenge, so let's take it a step further. What if I can only use those Pokemon and I can only use the moves that the Pokemon cards have? Is that going to make this challenge completely ridiculous? Absolutely, but we'll see how it goes. Maybe it won't be as bad as I think, or maybe it'll be much, much worse. Let's go over the Pokemon, and even though the deck has multiples of the same Pokemon, I'm only going to be using one of each here. Firstly, going with the Overgrowth deck works out very well in that I can use one of the starters and not have to alter anything with the randomizer. I will be taking Bulbasaur, but that's the end of all the good news. The base Bulbasaur card only has Leech Seed. Yikes. Bulbasaur learns Leech Seed at level 7, so I won't be able to attack with it until then, and even then, Leech Seed is incredibly awful in Gen 1. But once I suffer through that, it'll get slightly better. The Ivysaur card knows Vine Whip and Poison Powder. Bulbasaur learns Vine Whip at 13, so I can already have it by the time it evolves into Ivysaur. So by then, I won't be able to use Leech Seed anymore, but at least Vine Whip is an attack. Ivysaur also learns Poison Powder at level 22, but that's where it stops. There is no Venusaur in the deck, so this may be kinda rough, and Ivysaur will probably end up being the weak point of the team. But at least I can get my next team member practically right away. Weedle is in Viridian Forest and its card has Poison Sting. It can only learn Poison Sting and String Shot in the games, so nothing to it there. When it evolves into Kakuna, however, this is where I need to do a little customization. For some reason, the attack on the card is Stiffen, which is basically just Harden, so I don't know why they changed it. Stiffen sounds worse. Either way, I can't use it anyway, since it'll be evolving from a Weedle. But the card also has Poison Powder, and Kakuna definitely cannot learn Poison Powder. So I'm going to translate that to it can still use Poison Sting. This won't matter too much in the long run since Kakuna will only be around for levels 7 to 10 anyway. But Beedrill is luckily in the deck, and its card also has Poison Sting, so I can use that attack for the entire evolution line.
Oh boy, I'm blessed.
The other move is Twineedle that it learns at level 20. Twineedle is okay. It's probably the best bug attack in Gen 1, which really isn't saying much. Yeah, bug took a while to be relevant, but it definitely will help with some typing, especially because it's strong against poison and psychic. My next team member is going to be the Magikarp that I will be buying from the salesman on Route 4. The Magikarp card knows Tackle and Flail, and well, it doesn't learn Flail in Gen 1. Of course, Magikarp can only learn Splash and Tackle, so I'm kind of out of luck there with Flail, no substitutions. And it doesn't learn Tackle until level 15, so Magikarp will ultimately be useless until it evolves, but that's sort of the point of it anyway. Thank God this deck has Gyarados though, who will surely be the star of this team. The Gyarados card has Dragon Rage and Bubble Beam. Very awesome. It learns Dragon Rage at level 25, and Bubble Beam is the TM that you get for defeating Misty, so I can have that pretty early. And lastly, my final team member won't be added for a little while. I can catch Staryu once I obtain the Super Rod or go to the Seafoam Islands. The Staryu card has Slap, which is also not a real attack, so I'm going to count that as the same as Tackle. It's like half of a double slap. Starmie, however, is the one that requires the most debate. The card has Recover, which Staryu learns at level 27, so that's no issue. But its other attack is Star Freeze. Star Freeze is, of course, also not a real attack, so I have a couple of options here. The Star Freeze attack on the card does 20 damage and paralyzes on a heads coin flip, and takes 1 water energy and 2 colorless. So I could translate that to Water Gun to utilize the relatively weak water attack, but then it omits the paralysis part entirely. If I go off of the freeze part of the name and use an ice attack, then I could teach it Ice Beam, but freezing is so much more powerful than paralysis in Gen 1, for as rare as it is. Freeze is basically a permanent paralysis, so that doesn't seem exactly right either. The only other option in my opinion is Thunderbolt, as it's one of the only attacks it can learn that can cause paralysis, but it's clearly an electric attack. Thunder and Thunder Wave are the only other paralysis moves it can learn, and they are even less accurate. So to be honest, and I've gone back and forth on this, but I feel like Ice Beam is the one it should be, although it still feels a little too powerful. Water Gun only matches the weak water attack portion of the attack. Thunderbolt feels kind of like the opposite of this attack that requires a water energy, but Ice Beam just sorta sounds right. In the TCG, water and ice are all grouped into water typing, and the freeze part of the name causes me to lean in that direction. Also, this team is already going to suck, so give me a break here. And the last thing I'll mention here is the only items I'll be able to use in battle are potions and super potions. The deck has those as well as Bill, Gust of Wind, and Switch, but none of those really translate to the main game. I can already switch Pokemon at any point, so that fulfills that. Drawing cards doesn't translate in any way to the game, and I can't cause them to bring in a different Pokemon like Gust of Wind can do. So, enough setup. Let's finally get this thing going. So I get my Bulbasaur and decide to name it Roger because, sure. Since I don't have Leech Seed yet, I literally can do nothing against my rival except lose. I know using Growl technically shouldn't count, and you could say I already lost the challenge, but I'm forced to attack here and Growl doesn't do any damage anyway. so that will only count in an emergency. As long as I don't actually dish out illegal damaging attacks, I think it should count. So I lose, do the whole Oaks parcel thing, and it's time to go catch my second team member since Bulbasaur can't even attack until level 7. So I gank my brand new Weedle and name it Richard. I then carry that Weedle on down to Route 1 to start destroying Pidgeys and Rattatas with Poison Sting, and then it hits me how awful this challenge really is so far. I mean, yikes, I can't do anything here. So then I decide that I'm a relatively intelligent adult person now, and I look up the level range of Wild Weedle in Viridian Forest. The highest they can be caught is level 5, so why am I wasting my time with this level 3 garbage? So I go catch a level 5 boy and yeet that old Weedle right across the football field. But now I'm basically stuck in grinding land for a little while. I gotta at least get Leech Seed for Bulbasaur and turn this Weedle into Beedrill before I can even attempt Brock. So I get Leech Seed, get my Mighty Kakuna, and then grind and grind until it becomes my buzzy friend. I laid waste to so many tiny birds and rats on this day, and since I'm not going to show every single battle because that would take forever, you're going to have to trust me that I stuck to my rules because I most certainly did. I actually did accidentally use Tackle with Bulbasaur once and I ran from battle. It was the only option. I decide it's time to attempt Brock. If I lose and need to continue grinding, then so be it, but let's see how it goes. I start to experience dread though because I forgot that Brock seems to have a tendency to go for the full heal and my Beedrill gets absolutely wiped by Geodude. Not good. And now, you could say that I failed the challenge again here too, but with only having 10 Leech Seeds, I'm obviously going to run out quick. There's not much I can do about that, so the only move I'm allowing myself to continue to use to even keep the battle going is Growl. I would certainly rather not have to use it at all, but there's no do nothing button. So even though I'm not dishing any damage with it, it's still affecting the battle by lowering their attack 5 times. But I made up the rules myself, so I'm going to have to count it. If I run out of growls and have to resort to tackle, then I'm calling foul, and I'll say the match no longer counts. But yeah, it was actually really easy with Bulbasaur. Geodude went down without too much trouble, and Onix was a complete joke. Brock kept using Bide, and since I can't deal any damage anyway, he's wasting a few turns every time. Leech Seed damage doesn't count towards Bide. I think he used Tackle once, but I did end up with the victory. 1 badge down and I can go get team member number 3 after the next handful of trainers. After getting through these fools, I did gain a couple levels at least. I'm getting close to having an Ivysaur and I do have Vine Whip ready, although I can't use it yet. But now it's time to go buy David the Magikarp from the trusty Magikarp vendor. 500 currency for my 3rd team member, I'll take it. But of course this means I have a lot of grinding ahead of me. Time to go back to 4 times speed and suffer through Mount Moon. And here's the thing, Zubat are practically unbeatable with my current team. Here's just one example of a wild level 10 Zubat. They know Leech Life and Supersonic. Magikarp can't hit it, so my options are Poison Sting with Beedrill and Leech Seed with Bulbasaur. Poison Sting does barely anything and I can't poison it, and Zubat's Leech Life really works against Beedrill, so it can negate a lot of the Poison Sting damage pretty quick. Bulbasaur can hit it with Leech Seed, so I need to rely on Zubat using Supersonic more often than not, just so its health can even deplete. Eventually they both go down and all I can do is splash with Magikarp and hope Leech Seed takes it out. It did just barely here, which was amazing. So yeah, I ran from all other Zubat. After a treacherous trek through the Mountains of Moon, I approached everybody's favorite super nerd. I wasn't sure if the Grimer and Coughing would be a problem, and they really weren't. But something magical happened. My Bulbasaur evolved into Ivysaur. Oh yes, this is the end of Leech Seed, my friends. For now, I can use the ultimate Vine Whip for the rest of the game. That and Poison Powder once I learn it at 22. And I also have to be extremely careful that I don't accidentally let Ivysaur evolve into Venusaur down the road. I would mention which fossil I took here, but I'm sure nobody cares. Actually, now that I think about it, everyone comment below and tell me if you do care which one I took. Maybe I'll turn this into my own running gag or something that I just thought of myself. Comments are also good for the YouTube algorithm and stuff. I decided to try the Matthew fight next, and I got stomped by Pidgeotto. Time to take out our aggression on Misty instead. I try to get Magikarp some levels and open with him. Beedrill isn't much of a threat, so it's all on old Vine Whip and Ivysaur. I take one too many critical hits though, and I lose. On my second attempt, it only goes slightly better, but I do sneak out with the win. Misty will probably be one of the easier gym battles though due to my Vine Whip. And some more good news, I now have access to Bubble Beam for when I finally get Gyarados. Things are looking up. However, I still don't feel ready for the rival, so time to grind out some levels. After what felt like an absolute eternity, my Magikarp finally learned Tackle. I attempted the Matthew fight again, and this time it went a bit better. That Pidgeotto is kinda scary, but I did end up knocking it out. His Abra literally can't deal damage, and the Rattata was weak as heck. Finally, my Magikarp came so close to soloing his Charmander, and he just barely couldn't do it. But my Ivysaur just Vine Whipped it for the win. After speeding through Nugget Bridge and all of the trainers to the north, I did end up getting Poison Powder on Ivysaur, so Ivysaur is now 100% complete for the rest of the game with Vine Whip and Poison Powder, and it cannot evolve. Very cool. And then, something else magical happened. The miracle of life. That's right, my Magikarp hit level 18, and you know what that means? Not much at all, but do you know what else that means? It means I can unload these heavy rare candies that I've been schlepping around, and I can now drop them into my little fish tank for this silly koi to nibble on. Those candies cause my splashy friend to grow 19 feet and gain almost 500 pounds. Oh yes, this challenge is about to get incredibly easy. You know, at least compared to how it's been already. I teach Bubble Beam to it faster than a YouTuber plugging their Patreon. Here's mine, by the way. I even did a little dance after. So now my team is all set until I learn Twin Needle for Beedrill, Dragon Rage for Gyarados, and catch and evolve Staryu. And it didn't take long to learn Twin Needle, so now my Beedrill is all set for the game, minus, a whole ton of levels I'll need. Things are looking up for old Paraspectre. Poison Sting and Twin Needle. Yeah, things are really looking up. Anyway, the grinding session continues, but at least I finally get everybody's levels all lined up. SS and time. I wasn't exactly sure how this next Matthew fight was going to go, but yikes. Beedrill easily took out his Pidgeotto, even with Twin Needle being not very effective. Then Gyarados just one-shotted his Raticate, took out Kadabra in 3 Bubble Beams, and then one-shotted his Charmeleon. It makes me wonder how many people back in the day actually stuck with that Magikarp they bought without knowing what it really becomes. Simpler times. Then I put my child hands on an old man's back, and now I have the ability to topple trees. So you know what that means. I can now topple a tree to access a lieutenant with some pet mice and a ball. After getting through the boring as heck switch puzzle, it's time for Lieutenant Surge. I feel like there hasn't been much excitement with the gym battles, and this one is no different. That's Gen 1 for you, I guess. Beedrill absolutely dominated his Voltorb and Pikachu, but then got destroyed by Raichu's critical hit Thunderbolt. But cast your worries aside, because he proceeded to use Growl twice in a row while being poisoned with low health, so Ivysaur slapped it with a couple of vines and that was it. I'm beginning to wonder if this challenge will continue to be this easy from here on. Let's make our way to the Rock Tunnel and then Celadon and see what's up. Along the way, one of the last important events happened. My Gyarados learned Dragon Rage. So you know what this means, right? Aside from Staryu, my team is 100% set with all of their moves and evolved forms. Heck yeah. I also realized how limited my Ivysaur really is for hikes like these. I can only attack 10 times and then I'm restricted to just poisoning. Maybe I should seek out some PP ups. The game corner is next, and that was nothing. I even went into the Giovanni fight at half capacity because I'm not scared of a measly Onix and Rhyhorn when I have a mighty Vine Whip. His Kangaskhan was almost a problem, but poisoning it combined with Dragon Rage was nothing. Sylph Scope obtained, and it's time for another super easy gym battle. I'm sure Beedrill will run the table. And oh my god, this wasn't even worth mentioning. I guess I didn't realize how crazy good Twin Needle really is in Gen 1 with it being strong over poison. I took 2 damage from a Constrict from Tangela because I didn't one-shot it with Twin Needle like I did to Victory Bell and Vileplume. This is getting surprisingly easy now. Will it eventually get to be difficult again? Next is the Lavender Town Matthew fight, and this was also easy. His Gyarados was the only one that took some time, as Vine Whip is considered not very effective in Gen 1, even though the water and flying types should even things out. But that's just the way it is. I still won pretty easily. With the tower done, I am now free to enter the home of the fishing guru. This kindly old man told me to land the big one, and well, I will be doing just that, good sir. It's almost Staryu time. But here's the thing, after doing some super stealthy research on Bulbapedia, I noticed something. Staryu caught with a Super Rod are all level 15, and that kinda sucks at this point in the game. However, in the red version, Basement 1 of the Seafoam Islands has Wild Staryu appearing straight up on the land at level 30. And it'll already know Recover, so I won't even need to translate that stupid slap attack, and it'll save me 15 levels of nonsense grinding. So I'm glad I went out of my way to meet that fishing guru that I now hate with a passion. So let's go snag Surf instead and make our way to the foam. I feel like Indiana Jones with all of this historical research. But first, I must defeat Ninja Master Koga in order to use Surf, so let's get that out of the way. And this possibly could have been a challenging battle if he wasn't a complete moron. His 2 coughing are no problem for Beedrill, so Muck and Wheezing are the ones that could be scary. So what does Koga do? His Muck uses 2 poison gases on my poison type Beedrill, so way to go there. And then he just slaps on 2 X attacks onto his Weezing, who never even attacks. I even gave him a fighting chance with needing to use Twin Needle multiple times. So now that that joke of a gym is over, let's go get my final team member. And this took no time at all, so welcome to the team, Nick. I evolve Staryu immediately and teach it Ice Beam, so now my team is officially 100% ready in every way, except for levels. Boring Silphco is next, so let's skip ahead to the Matthew fight. My Starmie is slightly hurt, but I go in anyway. Starmie Star Freezes, yes, I'm going to refer to it as that instead of Ice Beam from here on out, his Pidgeot and Execute pretty easily, but gets paralyzed in the process. Next is Gyarados, and I stupidly bring in Beedrill, who basically gets wasted here. Ivysaur goes in next, who goes down in 3 Dragon Rages, and I only managed to take it down to half health. I could have planned this better, so I bring in my own Gyarados and we have a Dragon Rage off. Except his uses Bite, so never mind. Alakazam is next, who opens with a Recover, so there's a break for me. Psybeam takes me down to a little under half health, and only Charizard is left, so I think I got this. But Charizard brings me down to 7 health with 1 slash. Hopefully Bubble Beam can, oh come on! I lose Gyarados, and my only chance is my paralyzed Starmie, who instantly gets taken out. So lame. And of course I have a random Spearow on the team so I can use Fly, so I can't even attack with it, and Charizard opens with Leer, just taunting me. Oh well, I'll be smarter next time. At least this was a decent battle for once. And yeah, attempt 2 went much better. Starmie sent so much ice at his Pidgeot that it knocked it out in 1 hit. Beedrill was still useless from his Alakazam, but
I took a risk.
Starmie was the one who finished off his Charizard, so all is well. Giovanni time. But as predicted, there isn't much to say here. I only needed Starmie and Gyarados, nothing to it. But oh my god, look at this! I saved this poor rich gentleman's life, and now he wants to give me something. Sabrina time, but I don't think I'm quite ready for this. Everybody is a bit underleveled at this point, and mayhaps I should have fought more trainers in Silphco, but it was starting to feel a bit too easy. Then I get this wake-up call. Her Kadabra almost wiped my team. Gyarados stood his ground as expected, but Bubble Beam isn't strong enough to one-shot anybody, and of course Dragon Rage cannot, as it only does a set 40 damage. But I'm gonna try a different strategy here. Open with Gyarados. So this battle was absolute trash, and there was nothing I could do. It was basically a soft lock. Let me explain. So Gyarados got wiped out, that didn't work. I took down Kadabra, Mr. Mime, and Venomoth though. Then all that remained was Alakazam, and let me tell you, Gen 1 really blows. It got to the point where all I had left was Starmie. Alakazam was poisoned from my Ivysaur, and I ran out of PP for Ice Beam, so Recover was all I had left. Thanks to amazing Gen 1 rules, Alakazam proceeded to only spam Recover, basically for infinity. I ran out of Recover, so the challenge no longer counts anyway, so even if I ran out of all Harden and Tackle attacks, I'm restricted to Struggle until I knock myself out, so I kinda need to get lucky on a Star Freeze actually freezing it. Attempt number 3. This time, Gyarados actually managed to knock out Kadabra. I heal up from Mr. Mime not really attacking, and Gyarados knocks him out too. I bring in Beedrill to one-shot Venomoth, which was awesome, so only Alakazam remains, and I have all 10 Ice Beams left. Boom! Frozen Solid on the 3rd beam. Heck yeah! I actually do run out due to her using a Hyper Potion, but Beedrill comes in for the knockout. That was both a good battle and really stupid, because I either win from freezing Alakazam or I lose if I don't. Man, Gen 1 is rough. Blaine is pretty notorious for being a terrible gym leader, so I'm curious as to how this will go. And it went pretty lamely. I just had Starmie use Star Freeze to knock out Growlithe and Ponyta, and then Gyarados Bubble Beamed Rapidash and Arcanine without issue, even while being many levels below. But now that is a growing concern of mine. My Mons are pretty low leveled. I fear there's going to be a bit of Victory Road grinding here soon. But first, there's still one gym left. Oh my god, what? It's Giovanni? Actually, that makes a lot of sense. Let's see how far I get with my little Ivysaur here. Turns out pretty dang far when Mr. Team Rocket here uses Guard Specs and Tail Whip. Rhyhorn was nothing. Dugtrio actually did get a critical slash in, but then old Geo slapped another Guard Spec on it. Those poor moles. So many vines. Starmie easily knocked out Nidoqueen and Nidoking, and then Ivysaur got the job done with Rhydon because he failed with a Horn Drill, and then for the grand finale of gym moves, a Tail Whip. But oh yes, all of my fruits have come to fruition. All 8 badges have been obtained, some earned, some complete jokes. But let's just see how poorly it goes with the Elite Four while being so underleveled. Honestly, I'm more concerned with running out of PP than anything. I mean, how am I going to pull this off? I'm actually asking, I haven't even attempted it yet. The final Matthew fight goes poorly, so I think it's time for the grind. I also went and got all of the hidden PP ups that I could to max out Starmie's Star Freeze. I got everybody to 40, which I know is still very low, but let's see how it goes anyway. Well, everybody except Ivysaur. I think it's best to focus on Gyarados and Starmie for now. Matthew attempt number 2 doesn't quite work out either. I had little problem with anybody on his team up until Alakazam. Its Psychic wrecks even my Psychic type Starmie, so I feel like I'm back to banking on it getting frozen from Star Freeze. Attempt number 3 got pretty crazy. I plowed through the first few with ease, Alakazam time. Alakazam gets a critical hit Psychic, bringing Starmie down to 2. My special falls, but I retaliate with a critical hit Star Freeze. It's pretty weak now, and I get so close to knocking it out. Matthew uses a standard potion on it, and okay. Starmie gets knocked out though. I bring in Gyarados and Alakazam recovers. I lose a bit of health, but actually knock it out with 2 Dragon Rages. Only Charizard is left. I sacrifice Ivysaur and Beedrill to the Flamethrower Gods in order to use 2 Super Potions on Gyarados to maybe have a chance. Charizard opens with a Leer, so this is great. 1 Bubble Beam knocks it down to half health. I survive a crit slash, and then I just Bubble Beam it once more for the win. Wow, that was close. After some very tedious Victory Road grinding, I decide to give the Elite Four a shot. It goes pretty poorly, so I trekked around the map picking up all ethers and elixirs I could find. Then I just tried over and over and over against Lorelei, who is certainly the toughest one. And I'm switching over to 4 times speed here. I just gotta get this done. I have other videos to work on. Her Dugong has a tendency to use Rest and Super Potions, constantly draining PP for me. Cloyster, Slowbro, and Jinx are pretty easy to take down, but Lapras is so incredibly annoying. Finally, I had a run where Dugong only used Rest twice, so I saved a lot of my attacks. Gyarados took out Cloyster, but I did take some damage. Beedrill easily handles Slowbro and Jinx with Twineedle, especially because Slowbro only uses Amnesia. At least try, you know? Lapras comes in, who I hate, but it gives me a chance to use some Super Potions on Gyarados, and Beedrill actually poisons Lapras. Lapras paralyzes Gyarados like a punk, but I actually do take it down. Lorelei complete. Heck yeah. So I revive Beedrill, heal up Gyarados, and slap one of my elixirs on it. Then Bruno is such a joke that it's not really worth mentioning. Bubble Beam one-shotted his Onix, Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, and his other Onix. I needed 3 to beat Machamp, but he only used Submission and then Focus Energy. Nothing to it. Agatha is a bit scarier though. I decide to open with Beedrill against her Gengar, as Twineedle is strong against it, even though it's not very strong in general. She immediately withdraws for Golbat, so I do the same for Starmie, who wins easily. Gengar comes back, but it starts to get rough here. Beedrill hurts itself from confusion, then gets put to sleep and has its dream eaten. I bring in Starmie, in which she switches out Gengar for Haunter, why I don't know. Starfreeze instantly freezes Haunter though, so I take advantage of this to recover and knock it out with Gyarados. Gengar comes back and goes down in 2 more Starfreezes. Arbok is next, who I take out with Gyarados, but get paralyzed again. Level 60 Gengar is left, who uses Toxic on Starmie, come on. But I get real lucky and get a crit Starfreeze to knock it out just before I lose Starmie. That was tough. So I heal up and cure my poison and paralysis, and it's time to see what I can do against Lance. I open with some Gyarados on Gyarados action, which goes horribly wrong when it gets a crit Hyper Beam, but Starmie actually knocks it out, and then I go to town on his dragons with Starfreeze. Aerodactyl takes Starmie down to 3, but then gets frozen. That was close. I use a couple recovers and decide it's time for Ivysaur to do something. He uses a Hyper Potion, but many Vine Whips later, I knock it out. Only Dragonite is left, who goes down in 2 Starfreezes. Wow, am I gonna pull this off? Only the end boss remains, my arch nemesis, Dr. Matthews. It's time to settle this once and for all. You're going to pay for what you did to Spike, even though you're supposed to be in prison. I heal up as much as I can and slap a couple elixirs on Gyarados and Starmie since I can't use them in battle. Pidgeot is first, who gets frozen right away. I have Beedrill finish it off to preserve PP. Alakazam is next, who is very scary, but ultimately I used 2 Reflects, so I was able to get enough Starfreezes in. Rhydon is a one-shot. Executor goes down in 3 Starfreezes since it missed Barrage twice. Next is Gyarados, who takes my Gyarados down to 7 with 1 Hyper Beam. That sucks because I really need Gyarados for his Charizard. I decide to take a chance and bring in Ivysaur in hopes to use enough Super Potions on Gyarados. It goes even better than I expected, since his Gyarados used 2 Leers and then 2 Dragon Rages, so I was able to use 4 Super Potions. Ivysaur goes down, then I lose Starmie to 1 Hyper Beam, so this isn't looking good. Thankfully, his Gyarados used a Dragon Rage and then a Leer, so I knock it out. You lost this for yourself, bro. I hit Charizard with a Bubble Beam, and he hilariously uses Rage. So one more Bubble Beam and it's all over. Aside from attempting Lorelei many times, everybody else was taken out in one attempt. Absolute madness. Wow, I actually did it. I just beat Pokemon Red using the Overgrowth deck, with a couple necessary adjustments. Deciding to go with Ice Beam to act as Star Freeze is something I wish was a little closer for accuracy, but I had to do something. And there were a couple times at the beginning where I had to use a couple non-damaging attacks since I ran out of PP. But other than that, I only dealt damage with the moves on the cards. So was this challenge fun? I think it started out pretty miserably, and relying on Leech Seed, Poison Sting, and a Magikarp early on was kind of the opposite of fun. But then it picked up once I got Gyarados and Beedrill with Twin Needle. It was pretty fun up until the Elite Four though. This ultimately turned into a grind fest at Cinnabar Island and Victory Road with Lorelei attempts over and over. Fun fact, I actually got COVID while recording this, so my energy and motivation to finish this was a bit of a struggle. You might have been able to tell by my voice that I might not sound as clear as possible, but I actually did it. Basically what I've learned here is that, yeah, I should stick to TCG challenges, but this was a fun break for something different. This was actually my first completed standard Pokemon game challenge too. Maybe sometime down the road I'll do another challenge with a different deck. I'll have to see if something sounds fun. I no longer have that original Overgrowth deck, but I'll always have that memory of getting my first Pokemon cards many years ago. Grassy and Water Boys for the win. And look at this! Look who the very last Pokemon is that whips by. That's amazing. Is it always Paraspectre or is it random? I've never noticed this before.
Hey Spike, are you always at the end of the credit sequence of Pokemon Red? Spike?
What? No thank you, I'm not hungry.
Oh, Spike. So what did you think of the challenge?
Yeah, it was good. Really good.
Thanks, man. Hey, now that you're all better, what do you say you and I go get some ice cream? And we'll watch Amityville 2, The Possession.
You know I'm still in the Pokemon Center from poisoning, right? And that the cold is super effective against me? And that I've never had ice cream in my life for that reason?
Oh, you're just being nice. Come on, Spike, let's go.
Hey baby, I hear the blues are calling. Tossed salads and scrambled eggs. Quite stylish. And maybe I seem a bit confused. Yeah, maybe. But I've got you pegged. Ha 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 ha. But I don't know what to do with those tossed salads and scrambled eggs. They callin' again. Scrambled eggs all over my face. What is a shroom boy to do?
Paraspectre has left the building.
Oh, you're just being nice. Come on, Spike, let's go.